Good afternoon. Today is July 1st, 2024. My name is Atima Nada George. I'm a Green Fellow with the Library of Congress, and I'm delighted that Phelisha Midi has agreed to participate in this project, Playing the Angels Game. Phelisha, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually really excited to be here, to talk to you, to tell my story, and for us to have a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to begin by sharing some of your origin story with us.
Okay, so I was born and raised in New York with two Haitian parents who migrated from Haiti during the Duvalier dictatorship. Um, I grew up in Long Island as an only child. But have a really strong big family. My father is 1 out of 10, and my mom is 1 out of 6. So I've been always around family with different backgrounds and cultures. I have some aunts and uncles who didn't speak English, so from there I was able to learn how to speak Haitian Creole, French, and English, but also learned how to navigate and work in a multicultural, multilingual environment at a very, very young age. And my mom would tell me stories of when I was in school that I would mix French and English and Haitian Creole in classes, and then my nursery rhymes weren't in American nursery rhymes or folklore stories. They were always Haitian. So I was always considered kind of the oddball out of everyone in my group. But I think just being, around, that Haitian culture, and also being in New York where there is a lot of cultural diversity within the Caribbean community, but also within the like other continents such as Eastern Europe or even Latin America. I was just always around different ideologies, different languages, different perspectives, different cultures, and was able to really understand, appreciate, and assimilate in all that environment and learn how to adapt in that environment. So from there, I grew up in Long Island, lived in Long Island all the way until I was 17, and decided to go to Howard University for my undergraduate studies. First, as an undecided major, but ended up choosing economics by accidentally walking into the wrong classroom my first day in school, which was like a senior level economics class, and I was too embarrassed to get up and leave because I knew I looked like a freshman and that I didn't belong, but I didn't want to, be the laughing stock of everyone in the room. So I stayed, but it was a huge blessing because after that opportunity, I realized that I actually had a really strong interest in economics, and from there, I decided to take on a whole bunch of economics classes. Really enjoyed the discipline. I enjoyed the problem solving aspect of it, using theories to solve economic issues either on a macro level, what affects the global economy, but even also what can affect the local economy in terms of labor or even urbanization. So I decided to go and major, and that's how I chose my major in economics. But I didn't know exactly what discipline in economics. I didn't know if I wanted to do health economics or financial economics or even social economics until 2010, in January when the earthquake, and there was a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that happened in Haiti. And before then, while I was in college, I kind of stayed in the background. I just, did my studies, and read my books, did my assignments, turned in my papers, got good grades, but I really wasn't involved on campus. But for some reason, after the earthquake, I felt a huge urgency to do something. And what I decided to do was to give talks and rallies to help raise funds to help donate to the relief effort that Howard was organized. So I did that, and I really pushed me out into the front, into the spotlight, really, where I got out of my comfort zone. But even though I was out of my comfort zone, it didn't feel like it. And I realized from that moment that I wasn't just advocating for development in Haiti and explaining like, you know, the history of Haiti, why it's important for us to give back, how it is to help, in terms of looking at in terms of the longer term development of developing countries and how we can help, but also in terms of finding how we can also look at other countries as well within the Caribbean and Latin America and finding connections and synergies, and also telling a lot of my peers at Howard on why it's important and getting them more involved. And from then I realized that that is that development economics, or even just development, I had a strong passion for. And so that's how it helped me to then fine tune my focus from economics to development economics. And from there, I just kind of continued on with that aspect. There was a relief concert that I was helped to be a part of the team, which raised $30,000 to donate to a local organization in Haiti. And in addition to that, for the following year, I went to Haiti for the first time in my life to help out hands on relief work and efforts to help with kind of the rebuilding or removing rubble and debris from what was caused by the earthquake, and working with a microfinancing institution and helping to see how they can improve some of their microcredit loans that they're giving out to members of the community in a province outside of Port-au-Prince, and helping in that aspect. And that was my first time working or be actually going into a developing country and working overseas and actually seeing, you know, the the issues and impact firsthand, and how one can come in and actually help the situation, or even just help to contribute to the situation. So from there, I then decided to continue on that effort. This was all through Howard. It was an alternative spring break program. So for the following year, in 20, was 2020, no, sorry, it was 2012. Yeah. I led I was the co-coordinator for the alternative spring break program to Haiti, where we partnered with, well, kind of a while ago. So, but we partnered with a local organization there as well. We brought out um, students from the medical school to help provide dental hygiene training programs to area near Port-au-Prince called Quadruple. We brought students from the MBA program to also help out there was a microcredit facility that the NGO was working on to help them with their business strategy and how to improve and to better market, and also improve and work on their loans, and then also bringing out some Howard University students to help out with more of a either rebuilding of a wall or any kind of more hands-on work in that aspect. And that was really a fulfilling moment, I think, in my in my life, because it was a whole year of planning, where I try to find a local organization, figure out their needs, figure out, okay, what are the resources at Howard that can help them with their needs, and planning out a program, and then advertising and finding recruitment for volunteers, and then narrowing down the selection of the volunteers to help bring in the kind of, I guess, like the perfect team. And it was, I was working with another person as well on that, and it was a very rewarding experience, and I really enjoyed it. And then from that moment on, I realized this is what I want to do as my career. So from then on, right after that, I remember from a conversation I had with a Howard University alum, and I told her that this is, I was interested in international development, and but don't really know where to start. Her advice was like, oh, there's the Ralph Bunche Center on Howard's campus. I always walked by it. She was a communications major at the time when she was a student at Howard. And she was just like, why don't you just go in there and just say you're interested and see what happens? So one day I just walked in into the building and I said, listen, a Howard alum told me to come here because I am interested in a career in international development and said that you guys could be the right source. And literally that was because they had a whole list of resources available for me that I didn't even know existed, from fellowships to internships abroad to even study abroad, scholarships, opportunities to work at the State Department. I didn't know about the different agencies available, like the United States Agency for Development or USAID or the Department of Treasury or Department of Agriculture. So it really opened the doors. And from there, I also learned about the diplomat in residence program, and that's where I met Daphne Titus, who also then told me about a internship program under her, or under her program, or under the diplomatic residence program, where they would provide um, not just an internship abroad, but it will also provide some financial benefits as well to help ease the burden and bringing in more underrepresented population, or group into the State Department internship program, because initially the internship program at the State Department is unpaid and you have to finance everything yourself, and especially when it's abroad, it becomes a financial burden for a lot of people, especially Black and brown people. So that was a really
Felicia,
big help. Oh,
do
yeah.
you remember the name of that program? That particular
Uh,
internship program that was a paid internship?
No, I don't know. I All I know is that it you had to apply to it under the diplomat and residence program.
Gotcha. Thank
It
you.
was, yeah. Um, yeah, so it was a blessing because from then, I applied, um, I got the internship, and next thing I know, I got an email from the US Embassy in Paris saying that I've been accepted into an internship and it was paid. And I was like, wow. And they were like, it's yours. And from then I was like, okay, well, that's amazing and it's great and it's a wonderful opportunity. There is still a little bit of financial burden. Um, and I was talking to somebody else at Howard. It was at the he was also, he was an advisor. He was a staff advisor, a Howard employee for the housing, I guess you would call it, department, who helped out in the alternative spring break trip. And he was like, "Oh, talk to the provost," and well, not just talk to. So it was talk to the international, the Ralph Bunche Center, and then also talk to the provost, which I did. And he told me, go out with a proposal, say, that you have this internship program at the US Embassy in Paris, they're being paid, but, there's other financial costs like housing and transportation and flights, and just to some seeking some funding and some help for the initial startup of that program would be, beneficial, outlining what I'm going to be doing at the embassy. So I did all that. I had a proposal. I went to the Ralph Bunche Center. They said, yes, we can provide you. I had the budget line of what I needed. They're like, we can give you that. There will just be a delay in when you receive the funding. And then I went to the provost, and the provost said, "We can give you the funding now." They would just coordinate with the, Ralph Bunche Center to switch the money over when they get it. So that was great, and it was amazing, and it was truly a blessing because having the, financial support allowed me to really hone in and really take the internship program for what I could without having to worry about other, the financial burdens and the constraints and cost. So I was there, and I mean, I don't want to brag, but I love the internship program, and I really tried to make as much as I can as possible. I was working as the intern, the tri-mission management intern, because you have UNESCO, the United States, I don't even know the phone.
United Nations
Oh, sorry, United.
Educational, Social, and Cultural Organization.
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
there's UNESCO, and then OECD, which is organizational states. I don't know what it stands for. Um, mm. but yeah, so it was the U.S. Embassy, UNESCO, and OECD.
OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
Yes.
Mhm.
So all of those three organizations work together. So as a as a multilateral organization. So I was the management intern working on that and also working on at the embassy. So it was a really good experience because one, I got to learn more about bilateral relationships, but then also the multilateral relationships, which was also another different scope or field that I wasn't exposed to before. And it helped me to get a better understanding of, how multilateral organizations like the UN work, and how the US is involved, and how other countries are involved, and how we work together um, to help solve or accomplish the development challenges. So it was a really great, a wonderful experience. Um, I learned a lot. I made a lot of connections. Um, I also organized a day for all the interns to learn about a career in the Foreign Service. That was also another one of my assignments, and I called it intern day, where the interns for the whole entire day I met with the ambassador, met with the heads of the mission, um, met with the French foreign ministry, and other key stakeholders within Paris to learn about the Foreign Service and how Foreign Service officers work with the different agencies like DoD or Department of Defense or Department of Justice, but then also work with the host government as well. And that particular initiative was ended up getting highlighted on the State Department magazine of that year. That was in 2012, the summer of 2012.
May I ask how
Um,
many interns were involved in that intern day program?
if I could remember it, either between 8 or 10.
Mhm.
We also involved French interns as well. Um, so if you include the French interns, it's actually a bigger number. Um, but the American interns was between 8 or 10, which was yeah, it was pretty cool.
So in the year
And
2012, you were in what year of college?
I was approaching my senior year in
Okay.
college.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wonderful.
My senior, yeah. So it was the summer of that junior between senior year transition. Yeah. So, yeah, and then once I came back, I then um, went off to my senior year in college and finished with a 4.0 GPA. Um, but I knew it was going to be a challenge because one, my goal was to work overseas. And it's different when when you have internship overseas or study abroad overseas, when you have a university to help you on that. But when it comes to finding a job and career, it or a job really overseas is not as easy. And I didn't want to automatically apply to the Rango Fellowship or the Pickering Fellowship. At the time, the Payne Fellowship wasn't available, and these were fellowship programs to help young professionals get into the Foreign Service. I wanted to gain some work experience, so I decided to network on my own to find a job overseas, either work looking for organizations that uh, had ties to um, international organizations or international countries. So, for example, like the Africa America Institute, find or networking with NGOs in countries in which I was interested in working in, and trying to find opportunities and networking. And I spent quite a while doing that, in the about 6 months until I found a fellowship or yeah, a fellowship program where I can work for a year in Haiti with a local Haitian organization. So I did that for a year, where it was called Fondation Enfant Jésus, which is Foundation of Infant Jesus. Um,
Please say that again. Foundation of what?
Infant Jesus.
Infant Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And they had health programs, a vocational school, a very robust organization, and I was there to help them on their business development um, management for it. So I was there doing that, and then once that opportunity ended, I came back to the U.S. And decided to go and work for a USAID implementing partner. While I was in Haiti, I learned about this, learn about more about USAID and how they operate and how they receive funding, and receive funding, design programs, and have implementers implement the programs. Because Haiti at the time in 2013, there were a lot of USAID funds in Haiti, and a lot of donor organizations working in Haiti. So I got to really understand that aspect of it. So when I got back to DC, I was like, okay, I want to work for a USAID implementer like DAI or Climonics, somewhere where I can get my feet wet. Since I knew that was kind of also an avenue to work in development and kind of get the idea and experience on the implementer side. So I ended up working for a small USAID implementer called International Development Group, which is bit more economics focused. And I was with them for a little bit over a year. There were a couple of projects I was working on. One was starting up a population-based survey in Senegal. So I got to go to with them to Senegal for 3 weeks to help start up that program. And then with the same organization, I ended up going to Haiti to help start up a cost benefit analysis project as well for Haitian government officials to learn how to evaluate different proposals or programs that to implement for investment in the country. And then also I worked on a lot of business development for the company in terms of if there was requests from proposals from USAID on to implement or to evaluate, um, agricultural productivity and say let's say in like I don't know, Ghana, that would help them write the proposal, also help backstop on existing programs or activities they were managing from USAID. So it was a really
Excuse me for interrupting. I hear the term backstop used by USAID Foreign Service officers. When you say backstop here, would you elaborate just a little bit more?
um, I mean supporting.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so just supporting their programs and activities. Um, so yeah, I worked for them for a little over a year, and then I switched and worked for another company. And by that time, I realized, okay, I gained enough experience to gain the experience that I wanted to gain. I worked for 4 years. Um, I understood USAID a little bit better. And I was decided that, I'm ready to apply for the fellowships that gets me into the foreign service, because one, I have a better understanding of what I'm getting myself into. I have more of the experience, and I'm able to use the experience implementing projects into now going into the US agencies and developing and designing the projects and making sure that they can be a bit more feasible with the realities on the ground, since I had that on the ground experience. And since am interested in development and international development, in development economics, my chosen preferred path was USAID. So I applied for the Payne Fellowship. Um, and it's a funny story because I actually applied 2 times. I applied the first time, and I didn't get it, and I was distraught. I felt like I was like that's like, you know what? Let me try one more time. So I tried. I got accepted to Johns Hopkins SAIS, and I said, that was my top school, because they have a good reputation for international economics. Um, Also very known for being very rigorous in the quantitative studies, and it really aligned with my interest and passion for economics and what I really wanted to do. So I deferred a year at Johns Hopkins and decided to try again for the Payne. So I did that, applied again for the Payne, made it as an alternate. And I was so close to the finish line, and I remember being so distraught. And I was like, I made it so close to the finish line. What happened? Why didn't this work out? And then a couple of days later, I got an email from them saying one of the participants had to drop out, and you got the slot. So that's how I got the fellowship. And I went to Johns Hopkins, did the fellowship, studied for 2 years, really took courses that I was interested in, really took the opportunity to really diversify my regional focus. I learned more about the Middle East and Africa and Asia as well. I had an internship with USAID in India on working on agriculture. So that also then took me more out of the economics, but focused more on a different sector, um, and also see how I can apply what I was learning in school within that internship. And it was a really good experience. I had to work on a trade fair while I was there. I got to evaluate some agricultural programs that the mission was doing, and seeing how they could improve or pivot and change their design or their interventions. Um, and I was there for 3 months. Um, and after that experience, continued in grad school, and then I graduated in 2019. And once I graduated, I automatically joined the Foreign Service.
Excuse
Um,
me, was that 2018 or 19?
I graduated in 2019. The
Thank,
internship in India was 2018.
thank you.
You're welcome. Um, yeah, and then from from there, I automatically got into USAID. Super excited and really open, to be honest. I knew the career in a foreign service, they always say you have to be open and flexible. And I was like, hey, whatever is thrown to me, I will, I got to take it and run with it, and just see how it goes, and I will adapt whatever happens. So on Flag Day, which is the day where after orientation you find out where you will get posted first, I learned I was going to Mozambique. Um, so, which is a country in Africa. It was going to be my second time in Africa, but really kind of my first time living in Africa, especially for a long time. Um, Especially also by myself. Um, so it was, I was scared, but also very, very excited. It's a Portuguese speaking country too, so I got to learn Portuguese. So I was able to add Portuguese into kind of my language repertoire. But I was also exposed me to a whole different set of cultures, a culture the Lusophone culture that I was never aware of besides the Brazilian culture. And I learned so much about not just Mozambique, but Mozambique, Sao Tome, Angola, Cape Verde, Brazil, Portugal, that I would not have learned if it wasn't for being assigned to Mozambique and being exposed to Angolans and Mozambicans and Cape Verdeans and learning about the different cultures. And, even though they all speak Portuguese, they're all different, but somehow they're all similar in the same way. So it was really cool experience. I learned how to dance the local dances. I didn't really get to learn the local languages, but also just being exposed to that really just then broadened my whole perspective and my whole exposure as well. And I was in Mozambique for 3 years. I just left. I'm going to Senegal next on my next assignment, and I'm excited about that. And yeah, I mean, in Senegal, I will be in Mozambique. I was in a junior training. They call it a junior training position, where um, they place me in the economic growth office, which is an office that manages agricultural programs, water and sanitation programs, biodiversity programs, and there's an economic policy uh, program as well. And my role really was to work on um, economic policies and identify constraints within economic policies related to agriculture. So I worked with two teams on it. I worked on an activity called Speed, which is to help unblock binding constraints in Mozambique that prevents economic growth or the business enabling environment. And I mostly worked on the agriculture side of the agriculture piece. But
Excuse
then
me,
in
you said
addition,
it was called Speed?
speed, yes,
Uh-huh. Okay.
the
And
activity is called
mostly
speed.
agriculture to remove impediments to investment and growth in that sector.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Please continue.
Yeah. So yeah, so then, but in addition to that, I also got to manage another activity um, that that provided unconditional cash transfers to small holder farmers in two provinces in Mozambique. Um, and the idea is to what the office wanted to gain, in particular, and also the agriculture team wanted to gain more of an understanding of, what are the binding constraints for farmers in adapting better agricultural practices that are that provides farmers with a bit more sustainability, um, as well as productivity when it comes to planting um, crops or produce that will provide for that being provided for families, but then also for markets as well. And using cash as a way to see if one, if cash is a binding constraint for farmers, because oftentimes when it for USAID activities or interventions, they're teaching farmers, how to do better agriculture practices, either if it is through um, using better seeds, if it's mulching, if it's providing fertilizers. So they do these types of trainings, but then once their training is done, then it's up to the farmer to adapt those what they apply or applied what they learn. But oftentimes, what they realize is that farmers aren't doing it, and one of the constraints was that it's financial. So if you provide them with unconditional cash transfers, which is different than providing a conditional cash transfer or even a grant, to see exactly if you made it unconditional, will farmers adopt the climate smart ags, or will they, practices, or would they use their money, and how would they use their money? And using that as a learning opportunity, a learning objective for USAID in terms of how to better design USAID activities um, in the future. So it's a very interesting and exciting activity because in that activity we're having like three different models for it. One is providing, trying to understand timing uh, in terms of distributing the cash. So is it more effective to distribute cash before planting season, or is it better to do it before the harvest season? And also, is it better to do large sum payments, or is it better to do monthly payments? And we're testing out the different ways to see, what's more effective, what uh, more effective if one, if farmers are using the money for climate smart ag, but if not, are they then using the money to kind of help in terms of diversified livelihoods? Like, are you going to see uptakes in businesses for spraying service for fertilizers? Are you going to see more businesses that are trying to serve as the middleman for more larger markets? So kind of seeing in that way how what's this that kind of observation of what once you just insert this cash into the community, how does that develop the economy of the particular area, and what people are investing their money on, and how is it creating other opportunities? So it's cool and interesting to see that aspect as well. And then there's also another thing which we're focused on as well, or a component of cash that is dealing with youth and youth entrepreneurship, um, and targeting that approach with an existing USAID activity that does youth accelerator programs on business development skills, um, and seeing if then if we provide a one large sum cash transfer payment to youth who are in the community, who are getting these trainings, to see if they're going to use their money to help start up their businesses. But in addition to that, also providing monthly transfers to different heads of households in the community, to help generate their economic livelihoods and kind of generate more of a sustainability, so that if a youth then decides to pursue or pursue their own business, that there is actually a market within the community that can help support the youth businesses or the services that they can provide. Unfortunately, I won't be there to see exactly kind of the outcomes and how that will go, but it was really cool to be a part of the initial designing and thinking of how that's going to happen. And for Senegal, it's you know, I know I'll be in Senegal. I will be the private sector team lead. Um, I know that there is an entrepreneurship activity that they're working on, But in terms of what I will be doing there, I can only say once I'm there, um, to see exactly what my role will be. But that's basically it. If I was to talk about my upbringing.
Wonderful. A couple of questions for you. When do you head to Senegal?
I will head some out there sometime in 2025. I have to go to language training first, or I have to go to FSI and pass the FSI exam for French. And
Foreign Service Institute.
yes, the
Wonderful.
Foreign Services. Hmm.
Fantastic. As we're rounding up this interview, which I have found fascinating, I want you, Felicia, to think about those who will be watching this video in the future. And I'd like you to speak to the future of international affairs, career and development. What would you say to that young person who's listening today?
It's a very challenging, but a rewarding and exciting opportunity to really understand yourself, and understand and appreciate others as well. I think, when it comes for, international affairs, you have to be a type of person who is compassionate, who is who's open-minded, who loves adventure and who wants to really challenge themselves. And I think that with all those things, you have to, there's resilience in it, but then there's also growth and learning opportunities that come with it. So for those who are interested in it, I always say go for it. Um, I know in current day in society of what's going on in the world, it can seem very bleak, but even through those bleakness, or through the bleakness, um, there needs to be people there who can help bring the dark clouds away and make it more of a positive environment for others. Because what happens internationally affects everyone, globally, and it's not good to just focus on yourself or your country or just your community, but everything is all interconnected. Everything is, the global economy. We're all globalized, um, society. We need to work together and figure things out together, for us to really be able to have better well-being and also be prosperous as a nation, and then also as people.
Thank you so much, Felicia. This has truly been a rich and fascinating interview, and I appreciate your participation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.